Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Board of Commissioners zoning meeting for November 12th, 2024 at 5 o'clock. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Rawls.
Present.
Commissioner Darrett.
Present.
Commissioner Oster.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Russell.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner Fox. Commissioner Jason. I'm sorry, Commissioner Commissioner Larson J. How about that? Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
All members are present.
Thank you. I will now turn it over to the Law Director to swear in the applicants.
If you're here to speak to this board on any matter, either for or against any item on the agenda, please stand and raise your right hand. Anybody who plans to speak? All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Be seated.
I'll now turn it over to Commissioner Russell for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll now move to the amendments to the agenda. We have quite a few deferrals. We have no additions and no withdrawals. Deferrals are number 6, 8 through 11, 15, and 16. I'll say that one more time. Number 6, 8 through 11, 15, and 16. Do I have any discussion?
Madam Chair, one question. Are those all to December?
To December, I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Perfect. I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Durrett, second by Commissioner Jay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Approval of minutes of previous meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jay, second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The public forum, the agenda item, it will be when the agenda item comes for number 7. I think we have 2 signed up. So, Madam Clerk, if you'll read the first item, please.
The first item is 8-B-24-PA. It's a request of Benjamin C. Mullins for a comprehensive plan amendment from SR Suburban Residential and HP Hillside Protection to BP Business Park, SR Suburban Residential and HP Hillside Protection, located at 8801 Grosse Pointe Drive, parcel ID 132036 in the 3rd Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Ben Mullins here for the applicant.
Thank you. Any opposition to this item? Seeing none, Director Brooks.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the BP Business Park place type as shown in Exhibit C because it's compatible with the surrounding development by a vote of 12-0 on consent. The HP Hillside Protection Area will be retained.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Would you like to speak to the item?
Just briefly, Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant. The property owners are back here with us. This is another piece of property in the DeBoard farm that has been coming through and getting rezoned. This one's split zoned between. It's part of it's going to be part of the OB development that's to the west, and the rest is going to join the existing PR development that was approved a couple months ago. So moving forward, trying to get their properties in order so they can cash in on their investment on the property.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Seeing no discussion, I will turn it over to myself since this is my district. I make a motion to approve the BP Business Park place type as shown in Exhibit C because it is compatible with surrounding development.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Oster, second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Don't go far. Next item, please.
The next item is 8-B-24-RZ. It's also a request of Benjamin C. Mullins for rezoning from PC Plan Commercial, RAE Exclusive Residential, PR Plan Residential, up to 4 dwelling units per acre, to OB Office Medical and Related Services, and the property description is the same as the previous item.
Thank you. The applicant present.
I am still here, Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street.
Thank you. Any objection to this item? Seeing none, Director Brooks.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the OB Office Medical and Related Services Zone and the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 4 dwelling units per acre as shown in Exhibit C because they are consistent with the surrounding development, subject to one condition by a vote of 12-0 on consent.
Thank you. Mr. Mullins?
Yes, this is just the zoning part of it. Half the property is going to be zoned, approximately half of it OB. The other half will be PR at 4 units an acre. The condition that planning staff and planning commission imposed on it was that the not have any access to Grosse Point once the development commences. Right now, Grosse Point is the exclusive access to this property, but by the time development moves forward on this property, there'll be roads through the PR at 4 units an acre down to the south and through the OB that can get to Ebenezer, and so we won't be going through any existing neighborhoods. The past zonings, this body also imposed a landscaping screen for Type C along Hannah's Place. We're not opposed to a consistent condition if that's what this body wants to do. However, I do want to just note that there's some gas line easements through there that might interfere with that landscaping buffer. So to the extent, I mean, they're going to, if anything gets put in there, they'll take it out because they have the right to do so. And so just keep that into consideration if you want to make that condition.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I would like to ask the district commissioner if they would include that condition.
I actually have conditions.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the OB zone and the PR zone up to 4 dwelling units an acre with the following conditions. Development within the OB zone portion of the lot shall not access Grosse Point Drive once we have a development plan. 2, the 35-foot peripheral boundary adjacent to Hannah's Place will not be reduced. And 3, Type C landscape buffer along boundary with Hannah's Place not to interfere with any utility pipeline.
Second.
Perfect. Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Oster, a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Best of luck to my 2 favorite sisters out there.
Thank you all very much.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
It's 10-C-24-RZ. It's a request of Jeff Young for rezoning from A agricultural to PR Plan Residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre. The property is located at 11434 Snyder Road, parcel ID 130-16312 in the 6th Commission District.
Thank you. Is that applicant present? If you'll step forward to the podium, please. I'll need your name and address for the record.
My name is Jeff Young, 2300 Covered Bridge.
Thank you. Seeing no opposition to this item, Director Brooks.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 3 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development by a vote of 12-0.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your project, Mr. Young?
No, ma'am.
Nope. Okay. Do we have any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Frazier.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I would actually like to hear about your project, so if you could tell me about it.
My parents moved on to a house that was built there about 4 years ago, and they've been in the residence for 2 years. I want to do a joint tenant easement and allow for 3 more houses on the property, so they won't have to walk their trash up to Snyder Road.
Makes good sense. Seeing no other discussion, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Hill.
Thank you. I have looked at this and have no objection to it, so I'd like to make a motion that PR Plan Residential up to 3 per acre is approved on this property.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Hill, a second by Commissioner Durrett. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
It's 10-D-24-RZ, request of Oleg Zayats for rezoning from PR Plan Residential up to 4.1 dwelling unit per acre to PR Plan Residential up to 4.4 dwelling units per acre. Properties located at 1110, 1112, 1114 North Campbell Station Road, 1202, 1203, 1206, 1207, 1210, 1211, 1214, 1215 Campbell Park Lane. Parcel IDs 130JE00102, 00101, 001, 002, 003, 004, 005, 010, 006, 007, 008, 009 in the 6th Commission District.
Okay, get you a sip of water.
Sorry about
The
that.
applicant present, if you'll give your name and address for the record.
Yes, Old Exhibits, 2000 Panoramic Way, apartment 203, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37932.
Thank you. Any opposition to this item? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 4.4 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and due to a change of conditions in the area, subject to one condition by a vote of 12-0.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your project, sir?
Sure, I'll kind of,
If you'll just
Talk about it
speak
a
into the
little
mic, just
Yes.
make sure. Thank you.
I'm the owner of Lot 11 on that subdivision. It's the last lot that's not developed. And I'm just requesting a 4.1, from 4.1 to 4.4 dwelling units per acre. My wife and I have been married 3 years. We're nurses and want to live close to our parents, so we want to build a duplex on that
Okay,
property. Yep.
perfect. Do we have any questions from commissioners? Seeing none, I will turn this over to District Commissioner Hill.
Thank you. And I appreciate the way that you handled this and got signatures from everyone in the area
Yes.
agreeing.
Want to make sure everybody agreed before I
Yeah,
proceeded.
yeah. Well, if only they all did as well as you. So, thank you for that, and I have no objection to this. I'd like to go ahead and approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 4.4 dwelling units per acre.
I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Hill, a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Best of luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is 10-F-24-RZ, request of Venkamur Patel for rezoning from A Agricultural to OB Office Medical and Related Services, located at 8535 Asheville Highway, parcel ID 062-21101 in the 8th Commission District.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, if you'll give your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Bhavin Kumar Patel. My property address is 8535 Asheville Highway. Asheville Highway is Strawberry Plant,
Okay,
Tennessee 37924.
thank you. Any opposition to this item? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the OB Office Medical and Related Services Zone because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and the surrounding development by a vote of 12-0.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your project, sir?
Sure, ma'am. I just buy the recent the property and has a try to convert on single bedroom apartment. That's the reason we try to rezoning.
Okay, perfect. Do we have any questions from any commissioners? Commissioner Hill?
Oh.
Nope, okay. I'll now turn it over to District Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Patel, I actually drive by this area pretty often. I think this would be a good use of that property. I think that area could use it. I have no issues. I've not heard anything else. So if I were to make a motion, I would just make a motion to approve per staff recommendations and yeah.
Perfect. I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Thompson, a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Best of luck with your project, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next item, please.
The next item is 10-M-24-RZ. It's a request of Ryan S. Lynch for rezoning from A Agricultural to PR Plan Residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre. The property is located at 01302-1304 East Beaver Creek Drive, parcel ID 047-23401-234, 23403 in the 7th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? If you'll give your name and address for the record, please.
Ryan Lynch, 4405 Coster Road, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37912.
Thank you. We do have opposition for this, so I will have Director Brooks read. You will have 5 minutes, and then opposition will also have time, and then you can finish it up at the end. So Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 5 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding area, subject to one condition.
Thank you. Sir, would you like to speak to your project?
Can I save that for after I hear the opposition?
You have to go first, I'm sorry.
To reiterate what Ms. Brooks has already said, it is compatible with the area. PR is all around it, and we will work with engineering at some point to make sure that everything is to that one condition, which is the sidewalk, which I actually did want to speak to that. Is that something that we will work with you through in the development process? Okay, so that's an affirmative, so we're willing to do that as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The first person that I have signed up is Mr. Rodney Harris. Mr. Harris, if you'll give your name and address for the record, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rodney Harris. I live at 1306. It's in between of the property of my neighbor, 1308. I have some concerns regarding that. You only put one condition on as a sidewalk, but there's also a driveway easement. There's also a water easement. There's also electrical easement. There's also sewer easements that goes across almost to the center of the property. There's a water meter. I have a copy of the maps and the easements on there if you would like that. Could I issue that to you? I have a concern regarding how many units they want to put on that, and I'm surprised that there's no more conditions on the property because there's two residential people that's going to be totally affected by this because we have a driveway easement. We have one way in, one way out, and it's concrete. We have the two water lines. It's, if you can see the center there, it's probably maybe 10 to 15 foot from the electrical easement next to the pond. And plus, you have 28 new houses going on to the west. You have 198 houses going on to the south. You have an industrial piece of property that just changed over to the east. And because of all that building, you have a water flow, a natural water flow that basically almost comes basically across my neighbor's property and partly a part of mine. And on the east of this map right here, it goes down through there. There's a stream, goes into the pond, and it goes across the street into a stream. So we want to know how this is going to affect us. Are we going to be without a driveway? Are we going to be out without water? Because they're going to have to do some major work in here to put those units in there. I don't see but 3 acres of possibility of using that to build. The other has easements on it, and it's also swampy. So you'll have to move our water lines, or you'll have to put a water meter from the north part down to where we are. The part down where 1306, you can see in the bottom there to the east of us, that's all electrical and sewer. There's a Hosdale Powers right there. So how's that going to affect us? I mean, are we going to be without, we have a right, we have easement rights there. So I would just like to, if you would address that. So I believe I covered everything on that. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. O'Neill. Hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just right.
If you'll just give your name and address for the record, please.
James O'Neill, 1308 East Beaver Creek Drive.
Okay.
I'm at the end of the driveway, right next to the southern development, 100 and some odd homes. 2 years ago, they put a tree on my garage, split it in half. They put about 10 tons of subsoil in my backyard because they hadn't done the erosion control before we had about a 30-minute rain. That's all it took, because there's a 50-foot bank behind me, directly behind my house. But to say all of that, my house is at the head of a drain, which is made by, on the east, the south, the west, and possibly this particular development. to do what they're going to do, they're going to have to move a lot of dirt. I mean, when you come up the driveway, there's at least, it goes up to about 40 to 50 feet from the top of that driveway down to that slough. And which is not on the map, the normal, my house, there used to be a little creek that ran right down by the garage. And when they did the southern development, they messed all that up. But and the only good thing was it's underlain. It's a creek bed underneath there, with a network of crawdads, and that's the only reason I don't flood out, because those crawdad holes just drain everything out. But if it's raining after a day, I don't care how much it's rained, the rain is gone. I can work my garden in a day and a half. But this year, they've had troubles to the south, the retaining pond to the east, and the retaining pond to the west. The overflow dumps right on my property. It will dump right on my property if it overflows. It shouldn't do that, but it will, because that's where they put the overflow. But as Rodney was saying, the big thing that comes to mind is you got all those easements all the way across, and for them to do any kind of significant development, they're going to have to move the driveway. Where are they going to put a driveway that doesn't cross the easements? It will come directly across those easements. The sewer, the water, the power. So I don't know what they're going to do. Even if they put the easements all the way to the east, they still, they might be able to put a driveway, but it's not a driveway, because if they have other houses on there, we already have access problems, because when the house up front decides to block the driveway, which they do every once in a while, can't go anywhere. I just have to pull around into their yard and go around them. And so that is the issue that we already have. We already have. And traffic, the subdivision to the south is not, it's more, maybe a third, probably more like a fourth developed. The subdivision to the west has not even really begun, because they've run into limestone rock, which underlays that whole area, and will underlay this one. I mean, it's solid rock underneath there. You don't have much, even coming down the driveway, there's limestone rock in a little place there by the driveway, and they're going to have a problem with that. So, and the one to the west, there's a retaining pond there, and it dumps right. It's right there. Here's the overflow to the retaining pond, and here's the road. I mean, it's that close. There's no room for a sidewalk there. So now you're going to have the west ties into the south drain, which goes into a retaining pond, which will drain down. You see that little spit, the little piece there at the bottom right-hand side of the diagram? That's the part where my house is just, if you extended that, my house would be right in there. I've got about an acre right in there. Okay, and that the little drain, the creek that's not even on there, it would go further to your left, and it cuts down in toward that way. It'll go down in that way. Every once in a while, we haven't had any rain this year. The most I've had for a downburst is about a 30-minute downburst. And when you get 30 minutes on that 25 or 30 acres back behind me, you will get some water moving fast, and it will dump. When their drainage system fills up, and it already has, it's halfway filled up now. They've already cleaned it out once. The retaining pond has already gotten. They've had to put one of those bags to buffer the water flow coming out, and that was just on a 20-minute downpour. That's it.
Sir, I hate to ask you to wrap it up.
Okay. Well, that's basically we have had no rain this year. And when we do, and when you get 2 or 3 days of rain at about a 1/4 inch an hour for solid, there's going to be a lot of water moving from all of those places into one place. And my house is right there. So anybody want to buy my house for $1 million? I'll sell it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Lynch, you're welcome to respond to what you heard.
Yeah, so I'm the land surveyor. Actually, the applicant lives just a couple doors down from me. She's a night hospice nurse. So that's why she's not able to be here. But we're aware of the things that have been mentioned there, and those are private concerns, and obviously will all have to be dealt with. It won't be the first time that they've seen this too. There will be development plans, concept plans, engineering review, engineering input, community input. All that can be addressed through that process to make sure that everybody is satisfied to the outcome. And with new development, whatever it may be, comes solutions to a lot of those problems that they've mentioned. You know, as far as the stormwater, there's ways to mitigate that, ways to improve it. You get new sewer, you get new water, you get new roads. So all those things will accommodate those concerns when and if it all takes place.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you said that the owner is a nurse, correct? So are you the one that's going to be doing the developing or the building, or what are we rezoning to sell, or what's the purpose here?
So that's family property, and she's obviously surrounded by residential property. So her goal is to get it to the next step and see what she can do to benefit herself and her family. That's the next step. But until we pass this point, we can't really decide what she's going to be able to do.
Okay, so where did she get the idea of doing, I guess, the 5 units per acre?
That came from consultation with planning and with myself as the surveyor. We look at the area around it, commercial, 5 units per acre to the north, 5 units per acre to the west, and that seems like the compatible thing that would benefit that particular parcel.
Okay, so there's no, this is for basically rezoning for selling purposes. So there's no concept plan that warrants necessarily a 5 unit per acre rezoning.
Oh, no, not at this time. This is just the first step to get to the next step. Then we'll do full boundary, figure out where all those easements are. We'll get full topography, we'll get full engineering, and then we'll go through that process to see what will yield.
Okay. Do you have any potential buyers?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Lynch, you're not really sure what she's going to do with the property, and would there be a street in here for 5 units? What's the plan on that?
Yeah, obviously there will have to be some sort of upgraded access to be able to facilitate ingress and egress to the proposed units, however many that we can yield to benefit that parcel, yes.
I'm very familiar with this property, and I am very familiar with all the flooding. Mr. Snowden, I would have a question for you. Can you address all the easement issues?
Yeah, and it's hard to say what kind of easements there may be. Obviously, there's sewer and access easements, but as Mr. Lynch said, typically those things will be addressed. Obviously, if these people create a new road to access the parcels that are being created, they will have to provide access to the properties behind there, and we'll work through that in the concept phase as well as any utility or drainage easements.
And how would you address the drainage and the flooding there?
Yeah, the site pretty much all drains, I guess, down to, there's a very large box culvert that's under East Beaver Creek right there. So I would anticipate that they would be installing a detention pond right there at that location. And to my knowledge, I'm not aware of East Beaver Creek overtopping right there. We built that culvert back about 15 years ago, so it should be able to adequately convey the design storm at that location.
And what is the subject to one condition? What is that condition again? Sidewalk.
Sidewalks.
Yeah, and Commissioner Lee, there's sidewalks along Dry Gap. If this individual, would install them along his frontage, and then we would tie to that and build a small section along that commercial property. I think there's a gym or something there now to allow for these folks to access the sidewalk on Dry Gap and then ultimately get to the school.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For Director Brooks, would something like this where the existing residents where they basically all use the same driveway, would this be an applicable place for a new development to put in some sort of vegetative buffer if it does in fact go up to 5 units an acre, where they could have some buffer to have some of their privacy for, because right now they only have one neighbor and not 40.
Certainly that could be taken into consideration and be a condition of approval. When it gets to if it was to get passed and go to the next stage in terms of creating a development plan, that could be one of the conditions that's worked out.
Thank you. Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To kind of tag along with Commissioner Thompson's, I see in the staff report that the CB zone to the east has a condition of a 20-foot vegetative buffer along the shared property lines. I'm sorry. What?
Which they didn't do.
Oh, well, we need to address that as well. That's something I would like to see considered as another condition, should the district commissioner agree. But any sort of privacy that we can give to existing residences, I would always support. Also, just had a question. How do you if I may ask the speakers a couple of questions, how do you access your properties currently?
Come off East Beaver Creek, it shows the driveway right there. We just come off East Beaver Creek. Sorry.
So you actually share the driveway?
Yeah, we share the driveway. And see, the driveway comes up and goes across my property. So he has easement rights across my property. So if they turn that into a street, that street can't come across my property as being a street. It's going to have to be a driveway up to that boundary point of my property line. So we all access from East Beaver Creek. You can see the driveway right there in the center of the property.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have to rebuild a driveway for us to have access before they even did any construction. And then on top of that, our water lines will have to be 36 inches down, so we'll have access in case something breaks, unless they move, the Hallsdale Powell moves, like I said, the water meters down closer to us. And then you have the electrical, I don't see how you can put anything under power lines anyway, so.
Director Brooks and Director Snowden, this is unusual to me, that we are talking about rezoning a property that actually would potentially eliminate access to other properties. It potentially could, unless there's an agreement with the existing property owners for access. I'm very unclear on this.
To my knowledge, the rezoning is not going to eliminate their access if those agreements are already in place.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sir, about 30 seconds if you want to come up to the mic.
This fellow mentioned that there hadn't been any flooding there for a while. I've owned that property twice, okay, in about 2000. When I first, that development behind me was 30 acres in a conservancy. The guy that owned it was a forest ranger. He wanted in a conservancy so that his animals would have a place to live for 100 years. When he died, the kids got it, and somebody found a way to get it out of conservancy. So all of those trees on 30 acres back there that slowed down the water coming down that slough, that slough, are gone. That whole 30 acres drains right there at the back corner of my garage. Back corner of my garage, if it overflows, and it will, because we haven't had any rain.
Thank you. Commissioner Hill?
Thank you. To be clear, the water easement that runs straight down the middle of the property, Director, so that cannot be built on, is that correct? Or would have to be moved?
Yeah, they would have to maintain the drainage flow through there. They couldn't obstruct it or modify it without our consent to ensure that upstream and or downstream owners weren't negatively harmed.
Commissioner Lee or Mr. Lynch, was there any conversation at all with any of the surrounding neighbors as to what they could live with here or what might be appropriate? Would you know, either one of you?
I haven't had any with any neighbors.
We the neighbors.
You are the neighbors.
We are the neighbors.
Okay. Outside of the two gentlemen that spoke, but I'm having a serious issue with it, to be honest. Mr. Snowden, would this be a street that's going to be maintained by Knox County, or is it just going to remain an easement for all the property owners?
It's, that I think, like Ryan was saying, it's hard to know at this point if it would be a public street. I mean, they could, at this density, they might yield a little over 20 units. So I would anticipate the intent would be for it to be a public street that would be accepted and maintained by Knox County long term. And then through some arrangement, these folks that reside on the back end would then have a driveway that would adjoin that street rather than East Beaver Creek as it does today. So that would be my assumption, ma'am, but there's some unknowns associated with that.
Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Lee, Commissioner Frazier has a question. Do you care if she
go
asks?
ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's just a follow-up question to planning. For some reason, I can't get my maps to layer to show the actual vegetation that's already in place. Is there significant vegetation that's already in place on this parcel? And if so, would another condition to consider possibly be a reforestation plan if they were to come in and disturb those root systems? I mean, that's what we see consistently across the county when they come in clear cut, the root systems are disturbed, and that's where we see the stormwater issues.
Well, it's up there on the screen now. It does look like it's vegetated. I mean, I can't see from my map. It does look like there's trees and a variety of vegetation there. Yes, you all can consider a condition of approval.
Reforestation plan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want everybody to remember, there's zoning, and then there's concept plan and development plan. And I think Mr. Snowden will attest that, so often we go through a rezoning and they don't have a finished product ready for you to see exactly what's going on. But the engineering department, I promise you, will never let anybody develop anything that isn't developable. They won't let storm water be outside of the zoning codes. They won't let streets be out of compliance. And if they're not able to build units, then they won't allow them to build the units and plat the thing. I mean, am I out of line here? There's so much that you won't know at this phase. So I think everybody's looking for a pretty picture of exactly what it's going to be, but we're not there yet.
That's accurate, Commissioner. I mean, certainly my department and Amy's too is to protect the folks that are back here as well as support the developer that's trying to do this. So we will make sure that obviously anyone that has access now will have access afterward, and any drainage issues that they may have won't be made any worse. So yeah, certainly it's our goal to protect their property rights as well as this individual's. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry to buzz in once again. Just wanted to follow up that any conditions that we do place, as long as it doesn't impact the use, the county then can codify those and enforce them. Without them being in the condition, it's difficult for our county staff and engineering to enforce them and make sure that the applicant does exactly what we are asking them to do. So things like a reforestation plan, a vegetative buffer, clear access will be established. Those type of things, we can ask that, and then it's codified, and we can enforce it. So we do want to protect the existing residences as well as make your project, where it aligns in form and character to the area as well, and that is our responsibility to take both of those into consideration.
Thank you. Director Snowden, I had one in my district that, remember, we lost a lot of trees on that one piece of property on Bob Gray, and from the tornado, and we ended up, they were gonna end up doing a swale with the developer to keep any water rain off. Is that something that would work over there on that property too?
Help my memory. I'm trying to recall which one on Bob Gray it was.
It's the one that we were, they were wanting access into Highfield, but we were able to get them out to Bob Gray. But it was that last house that butted up to Bob Gray that lost all those trees during the tornado.
Yes. And gosh, I'd have to look. Shirley, I don't recall.
Just trying to do something to make sure they're protected from any other
Yeah,
rain.
let me look at
off,
that.
So, okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions, I will turn it over to District Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a motion that we approve the planned residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre, subject to 3 conditions: the sidewalk, which is 1, the vegetative buffer 20 foot, and the reforestation plan.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lee, a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When there's a condition of approval that's outside of our, normal buffers, like for the reforestation plan, it would be helpful for staff to know exactly what you all are thinking, what you want to see at this next stage. Does it mean replace all the trees? Does it mean replace all of them of a certain diameter? Or is there a certain type of trees that you want to replace? Those types of things.
That's a good point. Yeah, do you want to add which kind of trees? Or, what's our biggest, land buffer, Director Brooks? A? That's our biggest one, our A?
Most restrictive?
Yeah, your A is the best. Okay.
I would say A.
But the type A landscape screens, those are typically just for the boundaries and the property lines. Reforestation plans, I'm talking about if you're removing 50 trees, you agree to replant 25. So it's almost like a ratio of, for every tree that you remove, we ask a number of trees, and that's to protect the root systems for stormwater runoff. If that is significant in the area, that is something we should consider.
Yes, sir.
Does Knox County have a tree ordinance in place?
Director Snowden? No.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is the first time I've ever heard of a reforestation plan in 6.5 years. Do we have a guideline for that at all in our? It seems, with all due respect, it seems very vague, and it would be very hard for somebody to follow an ambiguous, what does that mean? Have we ever never had an example? I've never heard of us asking for that. Have we ever done one?
There's been a couple of proposed, but I don't think they've ever actually been implemented that I'm aware of. I know there's been a couple of proposed, but I don't know if there's been one implemented, so.
We actually do have a reforestation plan for development that's going in Hardin Valley, and we did that to protect the adjacent property owners, and I worked with the applicant and with the adjacent property owners to talk about what that would look like, feel like.
But was it particular to that property, or is there a policy of?
We don't have a specific policy.
Okay.
Reforestation plan is basically what I said, that you are making a guarantee to replenish trees and vegetation that is clear-cutted. And it is a method or a manner of helping with root systems and water runoff. So it's really open to interpretation. We don't, like you said, it is broad and vague, but it is something that staff would know that this body would like to see in place. And as they get to the concept plan and the development plan, they will know that our issue is stormwater runoff in this issue and establishing root systems that will help mitigate stormwater. And if that's if you 5-to-1 ratio, if you cut down 5 established trees with root systems, you replace it with 1. So, yes, it is broad and vague, but it is something that I have seen work.
Well, I don't deny the validity of it. I just think this Director Brooks and her staff and Mr. Snowden are going to have a really hard time because whoever develops this property may go, okay, I'm going to take out 5 trees, but I'm going to put in 5 shrubs, and I think that's sufficient. And then you're going to have a debate about trees versus shrubs, and it's very subjective. It's going to be virtually impossible for them to do. So that's why I'm hesitant to want to support that as part of the. I mean, I can understand vegetation buffer all day long, but I don't even have an idea what's going to be put on this land right now. It seems really difficult.
As part of the concept plan, could we not have an additional request for a landscaping plan? So that way we could work with the neighbors to be able to make sure that we're getting something that they want instead of just talking about it and then doing something that fits the bill. But maybe if we could have a little bit better directive to have that at the concept and then we can actually be successful with the people that matter.
Well, perhaps as the condition that a robust landscape with consideration to reforestation, that potentially may be a better condition that at the time of concept plan. Landscape plans are very different than reforestation plans. Landscape plans are really aesthetics and how things look. Reforestation has a purpose, and it is to establish root systems to help mitigate the natural flow of rainwater. So it is very different. I know I'm kind of throwing a curveball here, but
And just to maybe curb that and put it to bed, there is a body of water there that will have some buffering already built in that will be dealt with through Knox County Engineering and Public Works. So that will be a non-disturbed existing vegetated area to help replenish what your concern is.
because I am concerned. I've also driven this area after a heavy rain, and it's concerning, and we see this all across Knox County, and I think that we should actually be doing more. So I'm going to leave this with Director Snowden and Director Brooks. You've heard my concerns. You've heard what I am attempting to do. Potentially, maybe you have a suggestion for the district commissioner in how to amend the condition of the motion.
If you don't.
May I? Before we move on, the only thing I really want to. Sorry. The main thing that we're really worried about, would like to ascertain is how do we make sure that we have water, power, access, and sewage without interruption during the process, whatever they do. That's what I want to know. How do I do that?
Mr. Snowden can attest, and I will as well. This is all planned and documented and with the utility districts and with the county. So all of the plans will have to be in place, and then the infrastructure will either be temporarily installed to give them what they need, or guaranteeing no interruption of access or utilities, both vital and communication.
I
And that's a fact too, correct, Director Brooks, that obviously we can't have any homeowners going without utilities, any kind of utilities. Commissioner Jackson, if you'll give me just 1 second. Commissioner Lee, I have done a pretty robust landscape buffer on, matter of fact, it was the property that was here first. And we went as far as doing green giants, because they're really large trees and they grow really fast and they've got a really good root system. So if you really wanted to get specific, that's kind of what I did on those, so. We offset it, think, about every 6 feet, and they were offset. So they actually had enough root system, and they wouldn't kill on each other, but they spread out enough that they would, still. So that's just a suggestion on that.
I would support that.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson?
Well, I think as far as a boundary, yes, those trees are good for a boundary. I just wanted to throw out a suggestion here for if we were going to do the reforestation amendment. A suggestion to me, because I share Commissioner Jay's concerns that, hey, if we're not specific, what's a tree? Is it a sapling that's like this tall that's just growing? So I would say, I think what's reasonable is to replace 80% of the trees cut that have a 4-inch diameter and replace them with native deciduous trees.
Very specific. Good job.
Commissioner Hill?
I appreciate Commissioner Jackson's recommendation. I would really defer probably to Director Brooks and Director Snowden on this. I'm very concerned about we are all over the place with this. I'm not thinking this is the best way to go into this. I know we already have a motion and a second on the floor, but this is, I'm just very concerned about the vagueness. I think everybody wants the same thing, but we don't know how to ask for it.
Commissioner Lee, would you like to amend your motion?
Okay.
Sounds like that's the best way to go.
I would make a motion to approve the planned residential up to 5 dwellings, subject to the 3 conditions: the sidewalk, vegetative buffer, and as Commissioner Jackson stated, if you want to restate that part.
Replace 80% of trees that have a 4-inch diameter that are cut with native deciduous.
That would be my motion.
Can I just interject one thought about that? Can we eliminate diseased trees? Can we eliminate non-native trees? Can we eliminate, I work a lot in other municipalities, and really you need an ordinance if you're going to be able to work through these products. And if you don't have one, they can be varied at best of how they're interpreted, and it can be an undue burden and end in a result that's not even really what you wanted. So I think if there's talks of having an ordinance, then that needs to be in place before it's tried out on this piece of property.
I'll push back on that just a little bit, because you stated non-native trees, but that's part of the root system, whether they're native or non-native, they're part of the root system. I don't agree with that. And if it's a diseased tree, maybe, but how many, is this going to make a major impact, on planting a couple of trees?
Well, I'm going to keep my motion as stated.
Yeah, Commissioner Durrett?
4 inches is 4 inches.
Right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Gosh, it is loud.
Yeah, they're loud.
My concern is, if they do this is for 5 units an acre, correct? What if we run out of actual land mass to plant 80% of the trees that were removed because of building? Then what? Then they will never be able to be in compliance with this regardless. So there's that too. I agree. I don't want to. I agree with everything that's been said. I don't want to disturb the root systems and all of those things. But this is uncharted water.
It is.
So that's my concern with just doing this on the fly and not knowing, one, the specific number of trees that are there, the ones that will need to be cut, because potentially some trees, some vegetation might not need to be clear cutted.
Right.
And I know we are doing a buffer. So I'm hesitant just because we don't know.
Thank you. Commissioner Russell?
I would like to make a motion that we postpone this so that it can go back to the drawing board and be refined to specifically protect the current homeowners and all of their needs with the flooding, but also if we go back and that gives us time to actually word this properly to make sure that everyone's interests are protected.
Okay, so I have a substitute motion on the floor by Commissioner Russell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, by Commissioner Lee. Okay, so we've got a substitute motion on the floor by Commissioner Russell, second by Commissioner Lee. All in favor?
Wait, can we have a discussion?
I'm sorry. Commissioner Durrett.
Madam Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, we've already voted on this.
Yeah.
No. We had a motion, and then Commissioner Lee amended it, but I didn't get to the second before somebody else needed to speak.
No, I thought we voted on it and then
No, we
pulled it
haven't
back.
voted.
After
What?
Commissioner,
Say that again, Drew?
I thought we voted on it.
We
and then
voted on
Director
it,
Buck-
and then we started talking about we've already approved this. That's the problem.
Oh, we did vote on it.
We voted on it, and then we started talking about what the
Conditions.
the third condition is.
The clarification.
The clarification of what it is. So we have already voted on it with those three conditions. So if we are amending anything, we will have to rescind that initial vote.
Or anyone in the majority can move to reconsider.
Yeah.
Ma-
Okay,
Madam Chair, can I jump in for 1 second?
yes.
The people who are here that are the neighbors, their concerns are, will I have an access to my home? Will I have water? Will I have sewer? And will I have some buffer on the next development because I've already had other developments around me? That seems to be your primary concerns. Engineering and the applicant have both said you will have access, you will have water, you will have sewer, you will have uninterrupted access to that, and then we have added a vegetation buffer around any future development to protect your access. It seems to me that most of the issues are addressed in a pretty simple way. I'm very confused as to why we're complicating what seems to be a fairly straightforward set of questions and a fairly straightforward development plan.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. The clerk and I both don't think that we voted on this. So, I don't think we did.
Drew thinks we did.
You think we did?
I think we did. Yeah, we got a motion and
Okay,
second.
we
and
missed it. Well, then we missed it up here.
No, you
Yeah.
called for the vote.
Yeah.
You called for the vote, but then I alerted you that Director Brooks had a comment. And so we didn't vote. We did vote.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. So Commissioner Lee, do you want to rescind your motion?
We don't need a motion to reconsider.
She would need to rescind.
No.
No?
No, if you want to defer this, what needs to happen is somebody who voted in the majority, which could be anybody if it was 11-0, could move to reconsider. And if that motion is successful, then the floor would be back open, and then you could do a motion to defer.
Okay, I'll make that motion to reconsider.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lee. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And that was by Commissioner Fox. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. So sorry to the neighbors that we looked a little nuts up here. Yes, so now we're back on it. Okay, Commissioner Lee, are you wanting to defer?
Yes, I'm making a motion to defer.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lee to defer for 30 days. Is that correct?
Second.
Yes.
And a second by
Second.
Commissioner Rawls. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I'm going to side with Commissioner Jay.
So you're going to vote no?
I'm going to be voting no. I
Okay.
think we should go ahead and just approve it.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a substitute motion to approve clear planning recommendations with up to 5 units an acre with 2 restrictions, the addition of the sidewalk and a Class A vegetation buffer around the perimeter of the property.
Second.
Okay. So everybody knows where we are. Substitute motion by Commissioner Jay, second by Commissioner Jackson. All in favor? Aye.
No.
All opposed?
No.
Okay, roll call, please. You can start.
Commissioner Rawls,
Aye.
Commissioner Darrett,
Aye.
Commissioner Oster,
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Russell, Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
No.
Commissioner Thompson,
No.
Commissioner Fox, Commissioner Jay, Commissioner Frazier.
No.
Six ayes.
Okay, so that motion passes. Okay, so that's it. Thank you. Sorry for the confusion. We always have one.
We'll work with the homeowners, and we thank you so much for your time.
If you will, if you'll work during the
Absolutely.
landscape
Absolutely.
process,
Thank you.
that would really be helpful.
As long as I'm involved, we 100% will.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, if, Mr. Lynch, it's Mr. Lynch, right? Will you stay in touch with the district commissioner and Commissioner Frazier? She's the at-large.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, we sure will. We didn't realize, we wished that we had talked to them prior to this, and we'll make sure that we have communication with them moving
Okay,
forward.
that'll be, and the neighbors. I mean, we
Absolutely.
want everybody
Yeah.
included.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, next item.
The next item is 9-D-24-RZ, request of Avera Lynn McDaniel for rezoning from A agricultural to RA low-density residential located at 7509 Nichols Road, parcel ID 125016 in the 9th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
I'm here.
Hi, if you can give your name and address for the record and speak directly into the mic.
Avram McDaniel, 4405 Island Home Pike, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Thank you, and I don't see any opposition. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the RA low-density residential zone because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan by a vote of 14-0.
Thank you. Sir, would you like to speak to your project?
No, I just wanted to divide this up and maybe put 2 lots there.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Commissioner Lee?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, I will turn it over to District Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to accept this rezoning request.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Fox, a second by Commissioner Lee. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, sir, and good luck with your project.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
That's how most of them go. Next item, please.
Item 4-O-24-RZ is a request of William Dale Roten for rezoning from A agricultural to RB general residential. Property is located at 611 West Governor John Sevier Highway, parcel ID 137-14401 in the 9th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? Okay.
I don't see him, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I spoke with him, and he informed me that he was, as requested, I think, kind of by this body, to consolidate the second tract with the tract that's before us. And so I think he may be going through the Planning Commission phase on that right now. If we could defer this, I'll make a motion to defer this until that part of the project comes back before this body. Oh. January. I move to defer this until the January 2025
Okay,
zoning.
so defer for 60 days.
Thank you.
Or January 60, yeah. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Fox and a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor?
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Ma-
Commissioner Hill?
May I, on this motion, I notice it has been deferred from May to August to September to October to November. and now to January. Is there no limit in deferrals? I'm asking as a technicality.
I think there's a limit on how much the applicant can ask for, but commission has the freedom to do whatever it wishes.
All right, and one more question. Is there any expiration, Director Brooks, on applications?
No, not from planning's perspective, no.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Fox and a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Next item, please.
Item 10-G-24-RZ is a request of Muhammad Shorman for rezoning from PR Plan Residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre and TO Technology Overlay to OB Office Medical and Related Services and TO Technology Overlay. The property is located at 10641 High Meadow Drive, parcel ID 118IF00201 in the 3rd Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
I represent Dr. Shorman, Sean Smith, Dreamhouse Construction, general contractor
Okay.
at 9051 Executive Park Drive, Knoxville, 37923.
Thank you. I don't see any opposition to this item. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the OB Office Medical and Related Services because it's consistent with the county's future land use goals by a vote of 12-1. The TO Technology Overlay District will be retained.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to the project?
Answer any questions that the commission may have.
Okay. This is actually in my district, and I'm going to have to deny this, and I'm going to tell you why. It was actually in front of TTCDA, and they denied it, I believe, a month or two ago, unanimous. This sits in front of one of my neighborhoods, obviously, very established 35-year-old neighborhood, and the access that they would have is into the neighborhood. They can't get access onto Level Road. And I'm just not a big fan of going into neighborhoods, especially if it's commercial or office. And so at this point, Dr. Shorman does have PR, so he's able to do homes there, which is right across the street and behind him and beside him. So for that, I wanted to give an explanation to commission of why I'm going to deny this. So I do make a motion to deny this request. I've got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Oster and a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor?
Madam Chair, can I
Yes, sir.
ask a question first?
Yes.
Thank you. If everything around it is residential and you believe this should be residential, is there a process in which in this section you can go ahead and just change it from one to the other because it's at the end of the neighborhood versus going back through the whole process?
It's already PR.
It's PR.
It's PR now at 3.
Okay. Same as that neighborhood. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just
Yeah.
wanted to double check that. Thank you.
I do have a question.
Yes.
My client owns the adjoining parcel as well, which is behind it, if you're familiar.
Right.
If it was adjoined with that, then could that be changed?
It's still going to have to be, the traffic's going to be going through the neighborhood.
Okay, even if you were coming from the main portion, the other 7 acres, that would not be allowed to be combined? Okay, okay, thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Oster, a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is 10-E-24-RZ. It's the request of Natalie Nordstrom for rezoning from RA Low Density Residential to PR Plan Residential up to 6 dwelling units per acre. The property is located at 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020 Thurman Lane, parcel ID 122KC014, 01403, 01402, 01401 in the 9th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Could you give your name and address for the record?
Sure, Natalie Nordstrom, 1536 Cliffside Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Thank you. Any opposition to this item? Seeing none, Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 6 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and due to the change of conditions in the area by a vote of 10-3.
Thank you. Ms. Nordstrom, would you like to speak to your project?
Sure. I'm new to this. I'm a mom, not a developer, so I'm not sure exactly what you guys want to know, but essentially I'm a landlord. I have 3 trailers and a house currently out on these lots. They're 1980s trailers that are falling apart, probably a little bit of an annoyance to the neighbors. And it would be very difficult to invest enough money to make a 1980s trailer make sense there. And so what I'd like to do is build, but just essentially because of the sunk cost in the property that I already have, I need to, increase the density to make that make sense. On top of that, that's actually only a half truth. I would like to increase the density in large part because with the sunk cost, I could build sort of luxury homes there with the existing lots. And I think there's somewhat an area call for that. There's some nicer houses out there. My challenge is I've gotten to know the neighbors and I've gotten to know, by the neighbors, I mean my little neighborhood. And a lot of them would love to buy houses one day, but Knox County rents have gone sky high. Just to give you an example, my rents range out there from $450 to $750, so about the cheapest you can probably get in Knox County right now. And I'm very concerned with. I have lots of landlord friends, and I feel like we're all kind of riding this high of greed of wanting everything to just show out that way. And my concern is that we still need affordable housing in Knox County, and I don't like the idea of tearing down these 1980s trailers and putting luxury houses in. I'm certainly not going to go back with 1980s trailers, but what I would like to do is build some smaller homes that families can afford, sub $200,000 housing versus going back in with the sort of big 3-2 plus housing and sort of price some of the people that I've grown to know and love out of being able to buy. So that's what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions? Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just for clarification, are you looking to continue to rent the homes that you build, or are you wanting to sell them?
I'm probably going to do a half and half. It's going to depend on what finances actually allow. I'm trying to work through right now the septic versus sewer situation and figure out how much it's actually going to cost me to hook to the sewer line. I started that discussion with KEB, so some of that's going to depend on the financing of the project. My intent would be to keep part of it and sell part of it. So I would like to continue to rent, assuming that pricing isn't, obstructive to that. So.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Commissioner Fox, Commissioner Hill has a question. Do you want her to go and then you finish it up, or?
Certainly. You
Okay.
can go, yeah.
Commissioner Hill?
I just wanted to note that planning recommended 4 per acre. Commissioner Brooks, could you address that density, please?
Certainly. I think when our staff looked at this, our recommendation was based off of the surrounding zoning. It's a lot of RA zoning, with the exception of the PR there to the southwest. And then also taking into consideration Thurman Lane as well. And so we felt like the 4 dwelling units per acre was most appropriate for this property. But of course, the Planning Commission supported the applicant's request.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That actually was one of the questions I was going to ask. So thank you, Commissioner Hill. But the second question I'm going to ask is, were you aware that the planning staff had recommended 4 dwelling units per acre?
Yeah, so I would be happy to read it too. I gave a speech, like a full-on speech to the last one, but I wasn't sure if it was a repeat situation, again, new to this whole thing. essentially why I disagreed with that. So right now it's at RA, and potentially it could get to 7 or 8 units, like just with the zoning as it is, without ever having reapplied for PR. I think I might be getting terminology mixed up here, so I apologize. But so it really doesn't make sense because it potentially actually would limit me to go to the 4 dwelling units per acre because it's just shy of 2 acres, so I could only do 7, whereas where the current zoning already sits, I could potentially get 8, assuming that they could get the lot lines and all the easement. There's a lot of like ifs there. But that was actually obstructing to what I was asking for. It was also a little bit confusing to me because when I called in initially to the zoning office, because I have no idea what I'm doing, and said, hey, here's kind of what I'm looking for. It was, I think, a guy named Michael from that told me, 6 would be appropriate when we were trying to work through sort of like some rough budget, napkin numbers that I had on what I thought it would take to build. And so it was a little bit confusing to me when staff came back for 4. I was going for 6, and really, again, we're on napkin math, so I can't give you a promise that I can get it, but I'm really trying to get to that sub 200 number on sales price. And in order to do that, I just need the density to make sense. I also think like right behind me is a bunch of duplexes. There's some commercial very close. And I think from everything that I talked with the staff about when I called in, it sounds like it was, it made sense with like the rezoning, remapping that you guys had done. So that's why I went with that.
Are these currently on septic or sewer?
They're currently on septic, so I'm probably going to have to switch to sewer to get to that number. Septic, so I'll back up. Septic, I haven't done the perk test yet, which is something I've called in and I'm trying to get pricing for and get them out there to do that. But I also don't want to invest too much into a project until I know what in the world you guys are going to actually approve. But I've been told by septic companies that they don't think it would be a problem if I'm building like 1-bedroom houses. Ideally, I'd like to get to 2-bedroom. So I'm also simultaneously in discussions with KUB about hooking up to the sewer and trying to get estimates of what that's going to cost. I've got to get engineering on my side to talk to engineering on KUB's side, kind of a annoying little process. And so I just don't know the pricing on that, on which one's going to, make sense yet. So I'm kind of in the initial planning phases.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to ask Director Snowden a question. Director Snowden, what is the limit on the number of units per acre that you can have if you're on septic? Do you know? Or maybe it's Director Brooks that needs to answer that.
The zoning ordinance requires if you're on septic, you have to have 1 acre.
Okay.
So that would be the limiting factor with septic system.
Okay. And now, do you have any response to the staff's concerns about the size of Thurman Lane, being able to handle that density of housing?
I guess I just don't necessarily understand it because there's a whole bunch of duplexes behind me that don't seem to have a traffic issue. And then there's me right in front of that. And then there's like 1 or 2 houses ahead of that also have access. There's just not a huge traffic backup. The size of the road doesn't seem problematic. It's not like a 1 lane or something. So I mean, I guess that's up to you guys, but I don't have a problem with it. It doesn't seem like more traffic than most areas in Knox County, so.
Director Snow, do you have any opinion on the Thurman Lane and the addition of housing at that density?
I don't. The width, we estimate to be right at 20 feet. I think it may have had to been widened by a previous applicant. As well, my bigger concern, there was an intersection site distance at the location prior, but I believe when either this lady or someone else developed some of those properties in the back, they fixed that site distance. So from an access perspective and a road width perspective, Commissioner Fox, I don't have any issue between the 4 and the 6.
Okay. Director Brooks, can you put your finger on the staff's concern of the difference between 4 and 6 with respect to Thurman Lane?
I guess, Commissioner, I will say that, there was quite a robust discussion at Planning Commission about this. And, from my perspective, representing the Planning Commission, I would say that I don't think that the difference is significant enough to warrant additional concern. That makes sense.
Okay. That's all the questions for the moment.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I just had a question for planning. So and the applicant, so are you going to be bringing a separate road in potentially to then build lots off of? Because it's only 1.89 acres, so we're only talking about 7 to 9 lots here.
Sure. So, are you familiar with the Richmond Orchard development at all? Okay, so there's a development over kind of near Western, I guess, where and this was kind of where I initially started getting inspired, got the idea. But they have smaller houses. Theirs are 1-bedroom units. I'm hoping to do 2-bedroom units. But what they've done is done like a parking area and given like sidewalks to sort of each individual residence. And they have like a condo association kind of set up.
Gotcha.
And
So
an
sort of like a
ideal-
little private road.
Yeah. So in an ideal world, I'd do something similar to that. Right now, for the 4 units, it's actually all one kind of shared drive where they just kind of tee off and park right in front of their trailers. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Seeing no other questions, I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept this rezoning request.
All right, we got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Fox. Second by Commissioner Lee. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Best of luck with your project, and thank you for what you're trying to do.
Oh, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
10-J-24-RZ is a request of Matthew Regas for rezoning from A agricultural to PR Plan residential up to 4 dwelling units per acre. Properties located at 224 East Hendron Chapel Road, parcel ID 138HA024 in the 9th Commission District.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Regas. If you'll give your name and address, please.
Hey, good evening. Matt Regas, 1712 Bickerstaff Boulevard, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Thank you. And I see no opposition to this item, so Director Brooks.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan residential zone up to 2 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the surrounding development and the growth policy plan.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your project, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Initially requested the higher density. I believe the two units per acre is more in line with the growth policy plan. And so if there's any way to get that approved without alteration of the policy plan, I'd be in favor of that.
Perfect. We have any questions? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Fox.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept this rezoning request of 2 dwelling units per acre.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Fox, a second by Commissioner Jay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Best of luck with your project.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. You too. Next item. Oh, that's it. No zoning appeals, nothing. Does anybody have anything to add? Nothing else before zoning? We are adjourned.